Hey TK, good morning. Welcome to week number 2. We're going to get started today with some reading. All right, to begin, let's review what story we're talking about. Does anyone remember the title of our story? Remember, that is the name of the story. Right, The Country Mouse and the City Mouse. So we're going to get started today talking about our objective. Our objective is what we are going to learn. I can identify rectangles and I can recall characters. Okay, we said a lot of things there, so let's talk about what we said. The first thing we said was we're going to identify rectangles. Now, rectangles, remember, are a shape, and they have 2 sides longer than the other 2. Oh yeah, if you remember that from our shape song. So when we need to identify, we need to use our eyes. So here I have eyes up on our board because we're going to be using our eyes to identify. We also said that we're going to recall. Now, I pointed to my brain when I said recall, so I'm going to add brain here to our board because recall is another word for remember. So we're going to be remembering characters. Good job, characters. And remember, a character is who the story's about. So we're going to be remembering some details about our characters who are, does anyone remember the name of our characters? Right, they're the country mouse and the city mouse. And if you notice here up on our screen, I have the country mouse and the city mouse on my activity page number 1. That's because today we're going to be working on activity page number 1. So right now, I need you to go ahead and get out activity page number 1 so we can get started. All right, so now that we have activity page number 1, we are going to be using 4 different colors today. Let's look up here at the top. There's 4 different colored crayons. What are those 4 colors that we see? We have brown, we have blue, we have purple, and we have green. 4 different colors. So I need you to go ahead and go get those 4 crayons from your supplies and a pencil so that you can write your, there it is, name. We need to write our name at the top. All right, I hope you guys have your supplies. We're gonna go ahead and get started. So step 1 was write your name. So make sure that you're writing your name up here at the top where it says name. And next, remember our step 2. Let's think about what our objective was. Our objective was to identify rectangles. So we are gonna use our pointer fingers first to trace the rectangles. There are 2 big rectangles on this page. So let's see if we can trace the rectangles. I'm gonna get my pointer finger out and I'm gonna trace the rectangles. The first one I see is around the country mouse. So I'm going to trace it with my pointer finger, going across the short side, down the long side, across the other short side, and up the long side. Now I'm gonna do the same thing around my second rectangle, over here around the city mouse. So here I go. I'm tracing across the long side, the short side, down the long side, across the second short side, and back up the long side again. We are actually going to be using 2 colors to trace our rectangles. We need to identify the short side of our rectangles and the long sides of our rectangles. And for the short sides, we are going to trace them green. So first, let's think. The short sides, what does that mean? It means the ones that are shorter. So remember, a rectangle has 4 sides and 2 sides longer than the other 2. So we need to find the shorter sides. First, let's point to the shorter sides. Can you guys point to the shorter sides of your rectangles? I'm gonna point to the shorter sides of my rectangles. So here on my first rectangle, I noticed that this side and this side are shorter than this side and this side. So I'm going to trace those ones in green. So I'm going to be using my computer to do that. You guys can use your crayons. So here I'm gonna got my green color, and I'm gonna be tracing that rectangle in green, the shorter side. So here I go. Here's the green line. Try and make it as straight as I can. A nice green straight line tracing on the top. Whoops, we're starting over here on the left side. And here I go, tracing on the bottom. So there are my shorter sides of my rectangle. I'm gonna do the same thing for the city mouse. The rectangle around the city mouse, I'm gonna find the shorter sides. Remember, we found that this side and this side at the top and the bottom were the shorter sides of our rectangle. So we're gonna trace those green. So here I go, I'm starting at the left side. We always start at the left side when we write. We go left to right in a nice straight line across. Tracing a nice straight line across. There we go. And let's do the bottom, straight line across. There we go. So now we found the shorter sides. Now we have to find the longer sides, and we're gonna trace the longer sides brown. So get your brown crayons out right now. I'm gonna turn my crayon brown. And now we need to find the longer sides. We already found the shorter sides. So now we find the longer sides. We're gonna trace the longer sides with brown. So I'm gonna use my brown here. And I'm gonna start at the top. And I'm gonna go all the way down the side here. From top to bottom. Bloop, 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 bloop. In brown. Do the same thing on the other side. All the way from top to bottom. Tracing in the boxes there. Nice straight lines. You can do much better than I can. And now let's do the city mouse from top to bottom, tracing those long sides of our rectangle. There we go. There we go. And that should be green. I don't know how that ended up brown. There we go. And now we have our rectangles traced. So we already completed our first objective, which was to identify rectangles. Now, our next objective is to recall characters. So that means we're remembering our characters. Now, the things that we need to remember about our characters today are some details about them. We're thinking about what were they like? What were our characters like? What are some things that we remembered about the country mouse? I remember that the country mouse really liked cozy things. She wasn't very fancy. Which character was fancy? The city mouse. The city mouse was fancy. Remember, she had very fancy clothes. She's got her scarf here, her necklace, her hat. So the country mouse was more cozy. She liked her little house, but the city mouse was very, very fancy. She liked her big house. Now, our job today is to remember some other details about the characters, such as what color were their clothes? What color was the country mouse wearing? Blue. The country mouse was wearing blue. So our job is to color in the country mouse's dress blue. So go ahead and take out your blue crayon and color her dress in blue. So I'm gonna get my blue here and I'm gonna color in her dress blue. Now I can't do as neat as a job as you can because I'm using my computer. You guys have your crayons, so you can do a much neater job since you know how to draw very neatly with your crayons. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of blue here. They colored in her basket, that wasn't blue. And then I'm gonna move on to my city mouse. Now, what color was the city mouse wearing? Purple. The city mouse was wearing purple. The city mouse's very fancy dress was purple. So go ahead and get your purple crayon. I've got my purple on my computer here. And how did I suddenly turn the country mouse purple? She is not purple, she is blue. Now, we're gonna go over to our city mouse and color her purple. So I'm gonna start with her dress here. She had a very elegant, fancy purple dress. So I'm just gonna color some of her dress here purple. And you can go ahead and color in the rest of your city mouse and your country mouse But remember, our objective was to remember things about the characters. So see if you can remember some other things about them. Like, what color was the City Mouse's hat? Or what color were their shoes? And something you can do to go back and help you to remember is to go back to our book, to your mini storybook, open it up and use some picture power to help you guys figure out some character details. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to activity page number 2. So go ahead and get that out right now and I will get mine out. All right, now we've got activity page number 2 out. We're gonna begin with our step 1, which is always to write your name. So go ahead and write your name up here at the top, and then we will go over our objective for this activity. So for this activity, our objective is what we are going to learn. I can trace rectangles and use direction words. Ooh, so we've got some things going on here. Today, we're going to be working on tracing our rectangles just like we did in activity page 1. And our new objective is that we're going to be using direction words. So we have to remember some of those directions that we've talked about before. So I think for this, we're still going to need to use our eyes and our brain. And especially we're going to need to use our brain to be thinking about some of those directions that we've learned before. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to identify our 4 rectangles on this page. There are 4 rectangles on this page. So right now we're going to use our pointer finger to go ahead and point to the 4 rectangles. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now just like we did in activity page 1, we need to identify the short sides and the long sides of our rectangles. And we are going to be coloring our short sides one color and our long sides another color, just like we did before. So what I want you to do right now is go ahead first, point out all the short sides of your rectangles. On our 4 different rectangles, point to the shorter sides. Let's start with this rectangle, the top left rectangle. Here's those direction words. The top left rectangle. Which sides are shorter? I see 2 short sides. Remember, our rectangles always have 2 sides longer than the other 2. So we need to look for the shorter ones. I see 1 short side, 2 short sides. Now let's go to the rectangle under that rectangle. Here is the rectangle under the one in the top left corner. So we're looking at the bottom left corner now. And I see 1 short side, 2 short sides. Let's go to the rectangle next to it. We have this nice long one at the bottom. Let's find the short sides on this one in the bottom right corner. 1 short side, 2 short sides. Now we're going to look at the rectangle right above it, and let's find those short sides. 1 short side, 2 short sides. Now that we identified all of the shorter sides of our rectangles, we're going to go ahead and we are going to trace the shorter sides in blue. We're going to use blue. Notice we have lots of colors at the top here. We're going to be using a lot of different colors, and we're going to begin with blue. So go ahead and get out your blue crayon. We're going to trace those shorter sides in blue. So I'm getting my blue out, and here I go. Beginning with my rectangle at the top left. Here's my 1 short side and my 2 short sides. Let's go to the one right below it. 1 short side, 2 short sides. Let's go right next to it. 1 short side, 2 short sides, and right above it, 1 short side, 2 short sides. Now, our next job is to look for the long sides of our rectangles, and we're going to trace the long sides in brown. Since we already found the short sides, we know that's what's left is our longer sides. Our longer sides, because remember, rectangles have 2 short sides and 2 long sides. So now we're going to get out our brown crayon and trace the longer sides in brown. So here I'm turning my crayon brown. Go ahead and get out your brown crayon and let's begin tracing our long sides in brown. One long side, whoops, two long sides, one long side, two long side. Let's look right next to it here. One long side, two long side, one long side, and two long side. And how did that top short one turn blue or brown? We need that blue. Turn that back blue. There we go. Now our next job is we are going to be coloring in some rectangles. We're going to be coloring them in different colors. And here's where those direction words come in, because I'm going to tell you to find a certain rectangle using my direction words. And your job is to find that rectangle and color it in the color I tell you. So let's begin. Let's point to the rectangle at the top left corner, under the star. The rectangle in the top left corner under the star. Use your pointer finger to point to that rectangle. Right, it is this rectangle right here. That rectangle. We're going to color that rectangle in black. So find your black crayon and let's color that rectangle in black. So I'm turning my crayon black. And here we go, coloring it in black. I'm just going to do a little scribble scrabble, even though we're not supposed to do scribble scrabble. I'm doing scribble scrabble because I don't have a crayon with me and I'm using my computer, but I know you guys can do really beautiful coloring. So show me your best coloring. All right, let's listen for what our next one that we're going to find is. We are going to move across the page to the rectangle in the top right corner. We are going to color that rectangle yellow. So first, let's find the rectangle in the top right corner. Which rectangle is in the top right corner? This rectangle is in the top right corner. Now we're going to get our yellow crayon and color that guy in yellow. So let's find our yellow crayon. Oh no, that was supposed to be black. Now we're going to go over here and color him in yellow. So I found my yellow and here I go. Color, color, color. I should really outline it first because that's how we do our best coloring. And color it in. There we go. There's some coloring. You guys are going to do a much better job than me. And let's look at our next rectangle. This time we need to find the rectangle that is at the bottom left. Which rectangle is in the bottom left corner? Right, this one. This one is in the bottom left corner. We're going to be coloring that rectangle in with our green crayon. So go ahead and find your green crayon right now. I'm going to get my green crayon out and I'm going to outline it because that's how we're supposed to do our best coloring. And color that guy in. Oof, not my best coloring. You guys are going to do much better. I can't wait to see yours. Now our last rectangle is in the bottom right corner. We're going to be coloring that rectangle in with our red crayon. So let's find our last rectangle in the bottom right corner and go ahead and color it in with your red crayon. So here it is, and let's color it in. I'm going to get my red out, and I'm going to try my hardest to do my best coloring here. Oh my goodness. I'm going to outline it and color him in. Yeah. All right, and now we found all of our rectangles, we identified them, we found the short sides and the long sides, and we were able to use our direction words to help us color them in the correct colors. Good job, you guys. I will see you back here for phonics in a little bit.